Question.
Could you please explain what you're doing in a network of loci practice?
Comprehensive thinking requires taking multiple points of view. And so at the most elementary level, it's something like the six hats or other ways to kind of systematize the notion that one should look at a situation from multiple points of view, right? This is just good thinking. And it's good for groups to do this as well, although they often don't. At other levels, this is an exercise to help someone get to expand the boundaries of their visualizations, or their and thus the boundary of what they call their mind. And so by looking at things from an upper corner and a lower point in back or in front, you start to get used to looking at things more comprehensively. And it's very reminiscent, for example, of the net of Indra, which I describe elsewhere and would be important for people to know about. And so it's to increase flexibility of thinking, comprehensiveness of thinking, and to test, to experientially test what are the real boundaries of the mind. And I don't want to say too much about that because everyone needs to find out for themselves. But those are three of the principal functions of that exercise. I'm sure there's more.
I have a follow-up.
Good.
I largely understand the net of loci practice as physical location, hence the word loci.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to say, look at a conflict from multiple perspectives, and you say, just to take what's in the news now, look at it from the Israeli perspective, look at it from the Palestinian perspective, the Hamas perspective, the whatever perspective.
The military, the shopkeeper, the college student, the soldier, the political leaders, and so on and so forth. And then you could create a much more comprehensive way of looking at a situation.
So,
but that's just good thinking. There's nothing mystical about that.
Right. My question then, for looking from those perspectives, this is almost just plain empathy. People, myself included, find it very difficult to take on the actual feelings or emotions that somebody else might feel in their perspective.
So then it's especially important to do the work of the empathic alignment. And by the way, therapists, coaches, mentors, and just good people, they do this all the time. And so yeah, this is part of the rationale for the exercise. And it's a form of concentration, a form of meditation, and one that I see people using much less than they should. Follow up.
A criticism that I have had, that people have had of that, is that you simply can't, this gets thrown around a lot, you simply can't understand what that other person is feeling because you're not in their shoes. How far can this practice go? Can you actually understand?
Okay, it can go much further than people suspect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the work of empathy. Empathy is not, going out and picking out a Hallmark card, right? Empathy is not pity. Empathy is not compassion. Empathy is literally looking at the world through the eyes of another. And so, sometimes it takes work. But once you've done it, it becomes easier. And good therapists do this all the time, if it's indicated. And they refrain from it if it's not indicated. Does that help?
That does help.
Follow up.
Really empathizing with another person is quite difficult, and some people do it before they're maybe ready for it. So,
example.
Let's say you're in a tumultuous place in your life, and you have a person you care about, and they're in a tumultuous place in their life. You want to take on some of their, quote, pain, or at least that's the phrase that's used for such a thing, but you may not necessarily be in a place to help them.
Then don't.
Or maybe you are, yeah.
You know, a man's got to know his limitations. Who's that? Clint Eastwood? That's an American proverb, I think. A man's got to know his limitations. In everything, by the way. But not, of course, not set it too low or anything like that. And usually those things will just pass. And as you grow and mature and as you experience more, then these things become less devastating. Although some things will always be devastating, and they should be devastating.
You described one sorrow as different from sadness. For one aspect, many aspects are involved in this, but one aspect was that it's enduring. It doesn't go away. It's kind of like a dull roar that's always there.
I don't know if it's always there, but it's, you know, it's not far away. If you could just look around and you can see the sorrow, the pity. What a shame, what a waste. All this suffering, all this ignorance, all this negligence, so on and so forth.
So when you once said, well, I guess you said it to me, when I was dealing with fear, you said, "Oh, wait till you get to hope." Isn't that part of it?
I suppose. Yeah, it's hard to imagine life without fear and hope, but eventually one realizes, well, see, there's no need for fear or hope. It's far better than your wildest imagination. Mm-hmm. And your fear was all imaginary also. So yeah, you don't need either one of those. Before, because we're close to something like that, in the Avatamsaka, the flower ornament scripture, the flower garland sutra, there's a book in which they talk about entering the concentration of someone else, or entering a concentration as one person and exiting the concentration as another person. These are meditations that develop this capacity. That's one of their functions, and I'm not sure which book of the sutra it is, but you remember it, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's what that's about in part. Question or follow up, I should ask.
That's enough for that series.